Hi, everybody. Hope you're feeling good. Okay, so we don't have two people, but we have the two most important people. So we have Dorothy Ferguson from 2-Bit Circus. And we also have Tim Shiner from my company, Sam Immersive. And that's it for today. All right.
The others were scared.
It's a fireside chat.
Yeah, it's like a fireside chat. Okay, so first of all, I want to say, hi everyone. Thank you for sitting here and putting up with me for the next hour. So I wanted to start off with some panel introductions for the two of you and have a fireside chat. I'd like to hear, Dorothy, for example, more about your background and how you came to 2-Bit Circus and what you've been doing. And obviously, it was only 10 years ago that you started, right? So,
So I don't know how many of you may or may not know me, but so I have 30 years in the video game industry. This is my 30th year this May. And I am the only Dorothy in the video game industry, and no, I do not have a dog named Toto. I often characterize myself as a 16-year-old boy trapped in a 45-year-old woman's body because I am a hardcore gamer and I do love gaming. I have done really fun things with launching things like Madden and Rock Band and Baldur's Gate and NCSoft with Lineage and Guild Wars, and I've been very, very blessed in my career to be able to now work with the 2-Bit Circus team. As a gamer, this is something I've always dreamed of doing with location-based gaming and community esports. Not the 1/10 of 1% at the top of the pinnacle, but something where we can reach to the community and have the community actively involved because they want to be part of the bragging right of the best players. That's my
right.
DNA.
okay, Tim.
All right, my name's Tim Shiner. I've known Louisa Spring much too long. We both come from the entertainment industry, film and television, and I got to work with some amazing exec producers, including John Daly, who did Terminator, Platoon, Last Emperor, produced a couple of films along with him, and somehow about a year and a half ago, I hooked up with Louisa, and we started Sam Immersive, and we love gaming. I'm a gamer as well. Not as hardcore as you, but I do like my MMOs.
Excellent. So I should just say as well what we do at Sam Immersive is we work with basically grassroots developers to help them, optimize their game, do esports tournaments, and also make deals, basically. So I'm kind of known as a door kicker, and we've been doing that for a while. So one of the things that I'm going to start with you, Tim, because I know you've got some great stories on this. We actually activated an esports tournament at Insomnia in the UK. And we did that with a game called Battle X, which I think actually was just a finalist in the awards. But anyway, Tim, I'd like you to kind of walk us through how that happened.
One thing you need to know about esports is planning, more planning, and make sure you have even more planning. We got to do this very quickly in a very short amount of time. We got to work with an amazing organization. I know you're going to talk about them in a little bit, called StackUp.org. They're a military veteran, and they ship video games, help people get their computers set up, and reacclimate veterans and enlisted men back into society, and they use it through gaming. And it's an amazing, amazing organization. So we had a lot of their representatives there, and we played military people versus military people in Insomnia 63 in Birmingham, England. And they had 70,000 people walk through this festival, and it was amazing. Included in that was also a climbing wall. So with VR esports, it's a little different because you actually have to be an athlete. And it's a mixture of both. The esports, the geeks, aren't going to do the VR esports very well. Athletes and esports, not so well, but VR esports, this is for people who are a little bit athletic and a little geeky, and you can really get in there. It is very athletic. They were sweating. And then we had them climb a climbing wall before they could put their headsets back on to continue the next round.
Yeah, so it was kind of a combination of physical VR and real physical, climbing the wall. I didn't climb the wall, Tim did, by the way. But it was a lot of fun. But what was great about that was, the charity, we actually got a lot of donations from Omen and Asus and, Microsoft.
Republic of Gamers, they did a huge amount as well.
And that was a really good thing because there was actually a prize. So imagine that in VR esports. So, but obviously we gave those prizes to charity, and that was a really good experience to do that. So I wanted to move on, Dorothy, to you. And also I want to ask Tim this question at some point. But so what games do you think are most suited for VR esports?
Well, first and foremost, it needs to be multiplayer.
Yeah.
So, and that's the key. And I'll use Hologate as an example from a platform perspective. You're playing the game, and then you're also playing a leaderboard. So you're playing as a team or a squad so that you can work together to accomplish the goal. And at the same time, there's a leaderboard that will allow you to know whether or not you're at the top of that board. Now, games that have that built in from a game design perspective at the very beginning will lend themselves to easily being put into a queuing system with a ladder tournament and run on a very community level. Think from my perspective at 2-Bit Circus as the marketing girl there, it's really about playing shoulder to shoulder and elbow to elbow with your friends. And while the top of the pinnacle is really important because you need to have a progression process, I want to make sure the other 75% are given an opportunity.
Can I interject here and say you didn't answer the question? What games? Come on, games. We want names.
Okay. So I think Beat Saber would be fabulous.
Yep.
I think that would be something that would be terrific. I'd like to see some of the other games that are already in the market converted into VR. I know that Ubisoft is looking at Assassin's Creed, or I've heard the rumor that they might be. That would be fabulous because it's something that everybody would be able to progress up from. Maybe something like a Fruit Ninja for kids, right? So that we could bring people along from the very bottom and progress them through gaming.
Awesome. I like that idea. Fruit Ninja in VR.
Well, they have Shooty Fruity, so they might be able to do that. But Tim, what do you think?
Well, I love Battle X. I know we used to represent them, but it's a much easier game. I do like Onward, but that is such a military sim game. It gets really difficult to have a team together with it. So something
it's not very interesting to look at either.
Something
No
that is
offense on
team
people.
building, absolutely. So something similar to Battle X or...
Well, we have our virtual soccer zone here,
Yes.
which we're going to do
that would be
today.
That's not really a team version, but
We
will
are
be
having a
there will
team
be
version.
a team version of virtual soccer zone coming out next year.
I mean, from my perspective, I actually like games that are really simple for people to play so that they can just pick up and they instinctively know what to do. And I think that, what you're saying about, converting some of the other games that people know how to play, they already know all the rules. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to actually bring them in, and then they'll know how to play it and they'll get competitive for, and use it as an esport. So what do you think is the current state of esports in regards to VR? We all know that, obviously Fortnite giving 100 million prize pool. We've got, Intel Extreme Masters. There are 170,000 people go to that. But we're in a brave new world actually thinking about VR and esports because the player base hasn't exactly taken off, but it's something that could actually push that player base forward. So, as I said, my question is, what do you think is the current state?
From a current state, I think we're in infancy. I think we're in the creep stage.
Creep stage,
Creep,
I like that.
crawl, walk, run. I think we're creeping. I think there is something there. I know that after talking with MLB, they're looking at how they can take their homegrown Derby VR game and make that something that could be fostered in esports. To me, that's when it gets exciting because now you have a large-scale sporting organization supporting it at a completely different level. And the game is actually pretty fun to play. If you haven't played it, you should really get a chance to. And I know that they've been taking it out to their World Championship Series and other parks. So the crossover between real sports and virtual sports, I think we're just starting. And we've been doing a lot of endemic gaming.
Yeah, actually, Tim, you should tell them about. So we recently went to Soccer X, which is a massive soccer festival. Well, it's not soccer festival, I should say convention. But anyway, we opened up. We realized that there were these people coming from this one stand. They kept coming back and back. And then we realized they were actually competing against each other. So then we opened it up to all of the exhibitors. And people got super aggressive and super competitive. And then kept coming back. And then we had a massive crowd, totally unruly. And then at the end, the guy that won actually was a soccer agent, but he was actually a direct descendant of Confucius. So there you go.
He was not very zen-like when he was playing. He was very competitive, and he kept hollering at the goalie. But he wanted to win the unofficial VR esport immediately. So he was going on, and he was going out of... it was very competitive, and he was sweating a lot, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you know, so that game has also been activated at La Liga, which is FC Barcelona, FC Madrid, FC Seville. It's activating at soccer clubs around the world actually right now, and it will be actually having its own kind of esports league to be competitively gaming against each soccer club. So that's going to be very exciting. We're not there yet, but we will be. So what about the current player base for VR esports? I actually was going to ask that question to the other guys that aren't here, but what do you think about that, Dorothy?
That is a really good question. The VR penetration in the home is very, very, very low, right? I saw some numbers about 4 million VR systems have been sold in the consumer home. I'd like to know where. I think that's I know I haven't seen a lot of the penetration, and we did see it on the first round, on that first wave of VR, and it seems to have lagged recently. The way we need the whole entire ecosystem to work is really to make sure that they have the ability to play, practice, and scrim at home, and or then have a place to play, practice, and scrim. That's why Two-Bit Circus is looking to reach out to that community level and have those kinds of league activations. The other piece of that is going to be, to your point, the sponsors and the larger events. I think we've got to get the penetration in the home. And slowly but surely.
Yeah, because they've got to practice.
They got to practice.
I mean,
they've got to have a place to practice.
You know, when you go and see someone like Optic Gaming and they've got all their players there, they're actually putting them through, you know, they actually make them go and exercise outside, which is quite funny because none of them never want to go. And they make them eat food that they don't really want to eat, but they have to be athletes. So it's the same thing that, you know, you have to be able to practice at home, but you also have to be able to, you know, be within, you know, a team of people too. And, you know, that's not there yet, but that will be there at some point. What do you think about that, Tim?
Well, once the consumers are easier to get into the house, the standalone head-mounted displays would be much easier to play with, as long as you didn't have to have a cord around you, and something cheaper, because if you...
Yeah, how many times have you untangled people in cords?
Yes, and we're going to be doing that today, I'm sure. But getting it into the house and getting a computer that's powerful enough to run VR is the hard part.
Yeah, I mean, the kids that want to play this, they don't, you know, unless they're spoiled, they don't really have, you know, the money to and the gear to get it.
And unfortunately, the graphics cards that run it are now being sapped up by Bitcoin miners. So hopefully they will be making graphic cards much cheaper now, which will definitely help.
Yeah. So how do we get people excited about VR esports? From my...
Sex.
Prize pools.
Sex and money. Oh my God, I love it.
We're gonna have the
Congratulations.
tournament next door at Deja Vu Adult
No,
Entertainment.
we are not.
We'll buy you tickets to Puppetry of the Penis live on
Okay,
stage.
enough, Tim. So, okay. So what I was going to say about the prize pools. So I kind of feel like Oculus and HTC need to start getting behind this a lot more. Microsoft too. I think Microsoft are definitely open to that. I know that Oculus did do the thing with Onward, and that was a $75,000 prize pool. Plus, I think the VR League has a prize pool too. I'm not quite sure how much that was. Another question I was going to ask you, by the way, VR League guy. But anyway, but they need to be bigger. I mean, you know, when you have 100 million, right, prize pool for Fortnite, or you have a prize pool for Dota that's 2 million, you know, I mean, that's worth getting out of bed for. That's worth buying the equipment, you know. So I feel that we have to start looking, all of us, if we want to do any kind of esports, not only at the endemic brands, but also at the brands that, you know, are non-endemics. So people that are interested in VR, and, you know, it could be, you know, a Axe body spray for all we know. But we should be reaching out to those people. What do you think about that? You're the marketer, actually. I should ask you that.
Quite honestly, that was pretty much what we started with when we were doing peer-to-peer gaming, way, way back before online gaming took off to deliver esports, right?
Yeah.
It was getting the mass market, the Doritos, the Pepsis, the Dr. Peppers, all that stuff, and we were getting them actively involved in things when the whole thing started taking off.
Yeah.
And they were getting behind it and sponsoring it because they saw their sales rise. So ultimately what esports has turned into is a marketing impressions and reach campaign.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, when you think about Mercedes, Geico, I mean, they're all in esports. I mean, if they see something that's exciting, they will get into it. So I feel that, you know, we should be reaching out to those people. If anyone's got any contacts, let me know, by the way.
I think also one of the other things that marketing is not doing is reaching out to the older gamer.
Like you.
Like me. I will tell you, there are 25% of gamers are over the age of 50. Mm-hmm. And yes, I am over 50. And I'm a fairly hardcore gamer. I play at least 2, 3, 4 times a week. Where is my advertisement? Where's my Depends undergarments? Where's my Liberator catheters? I mean, start advertising to the people who actually have the money that can actually spend.
Do you play World of Tanks?
My name is Nuwada Argatlau, yes.
So have you seen, so I'm going to ask this question about, you know, obviously VR esports events that you've seen. Have you seen any good tournaments produced or anything apart from mine?
Honestly, no. I know ESL, Turtle Entertainment, is looking at doing some of that in the future. I don't know where that timeline is or what that...
They have done it in the UK, actually, already.
Well, there you go.
And they did Onward at Oculus.
And in the States...
But Onward was very boring.
We really... It hasn't taken off.
Yeah.
I think the entire esports, you know, idea started in Asia, right? I think we all remember that.
Yeah.
And it kind of jumped over the U.S. to Europe. And it's only now really gaining that level of standing and credibility and steam rolling forward where it's become something of a business.
How can we increase the audience, though? I mean, some streamers, we've got a couple of streamers doing it, but it's becoming quite difficult to actually stream a VR, so it's not a community building aspect.
So I just wanted to ask one thing about like platforms such as Battlefy, and there's a great platform called ePulse that you can actually set up your own tournaments on those platforms. Tim, I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
I don't know. What am I going to say?
You got a secret?
Battlefy.
What about it? Oh.
He does have a
Well,
secret.
no, I mean, these great places that you can set up tournaments, they don't really support VR. So that's another thing that we have to get the esports community involved in VR esports as well.
And what are your thoughts about the player base and the ecosystem, and how can we kind of help the players get excited about this apart from sex and money? I mean, how do we look after them? I know that
Planet
you've
13.
worked. Pardon?
Go to Planet 13.
But what about, say, obviously working with Discord and channels such as that? I mean, I know we've been working with Discord a lot with different games, etc. But is there anything else that you think that you can kind of add into that you would think about for other people to set up some tournaments on their own? No.
No, just lots of planning, and if you think you're ready to go, you're not nearly ready. But do it anyway.
Okay, and then Dorothy, when are you going to have an esports competition at the Circus?
I think the Circus is going to probably start with league play. And think of it in terms like a bowling league, right?
Yeah.
So that you can be the winner for that week. I think we'll probably start with something where we already have a piece of content in the park that lends itself to it. Beat Saber, as an example. Very popular game, multiplayer, on the way, as you know, coming to the parks and the LBEs. And you can start there. And people want to play it, have played it single player. Now they get the opportunity to play and get the bragging rights and winning rights against their buddies and friends. Because that's what esports is. Yeah. I get to brag that I absolutely killed Tim in game.
Dorothy, you're on.
Well, Well, I just wanted to let everyone know that we are going to do a little bit of an esports tournament today with Virtual Soccer Zone. And we'd like everyone to obviously play if we can. I mean, this is kind of a last minute thing, but it should be fun. And we do have a Windows mixed reality headset, thanks to Microsoft, to give away. So
high score.
I want it.
we want to see the high scores today. So, but I want to say thank you to Dorothy, and thank you to Tim, even though I pay you. And, thank you to everyone for listening, and reach out if you want us to do an esports tournament with your game.
Thank you.
Thank you.